So there was this one time when... That's not right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to... That's not right either. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another video. This week we are going to be talking about how to deliver a superstar speech, just like Barack Obama. Now, I'm sure we've all been put in those situations where we've had to speak publicly, and either it fills you with absolute dread or it fills you with complete excitement. Some of you might even fall in between the two. I completely understand where you're coming from. It can be a terrifying experience. Standing there in front of everybody thinking, shit, everybody's looking at me. What am I going to say? Don't muddle your words. Yeah, we all know how that feels. Even now, the heart is pumping and I can feel it beating in my chest. So, how do we give a superstar presentation? Quick spoiler alert. If you don't want to watch the whole video, the answer to this is the most powerful aspect you can use to give a superstar presentation and speech is to hesitate, is to use silence, is to pause. If you can remove the ums, wells, are, kind of, well, some, if prepositions, you can create an incredible experience for your audience. And the power of silence, not only like you can use it as a secret weapon in the boardroom, when giving a speech, the same can be said. And that's come directly from Barack Obama. Not to me personally, but from what I've read, obviously. So with that, let's dive into the 6 steps on how to deliver a superstar speech, just like Barack Obama. Number 1, know your audience. When Barack Obama gave his acceptance speech at Grant Park when he was first made president, not only did he talk to his audience there physically, he talked to everybody at home. They talk about talking directly to those people sat in front of the televisions watching it at home. Now, you may not be fortunate enough or unlucky enough, depending on which side of the fence you sit, to have to talk to millions of people. But even if you're speaking in a relatively small auditorium, room, or event, being able to talk directly to your audience is hugely important. Don't just treat them as people that have come to hear you speak. Talk to them directly. Create that connection. If you understand the people in your audience, where they've come from, the challenges they're facing, why they voted for you in Barack's case, why they've come to listen to you in this example. If you can build that rapport and that connection, it becomes an incredibly powerful tool when giving a speech. You want to talk about who they really are. Far too often, and I've seen this in presentations, is people answer the question that they want to answer, not what's important to the people in front of them. Take a moment to think about the last time you had to public speak. Did you stand up, basically just whistle through what you had to say, sit down and think, thank goodness that's done? Maybe, maybe not. There are simple things that you can do that help propel you from giving a good public speech to a great one. And knowing your audience is a key part of that. One little tip to help you if you do have to public speak, and this comes from giving best man speeches, is take a step back, step out from behind your chair, put your hands on the back of the chair and have a glass of water in front of you. Not only will putting your hands on the back of the chair mean that you don't fidget and wave your hands around. I know that I do quite a lot of gesturing with my hands anyway. But it also means that it gives you a chance to root yourself, to stand firm. And then when you do want to take a break, or you do want to create a bit of silence, have a drink. It's pretty difficult to talk when you're having a drink. So have a drink, take your time, and that will give you a moment to take stock. But know your audience. Connect with them. That's one of the biggest things that you can do when giving a speech. Number 2, envelope your point in a story. People are more emotionally engaged when they're hearing something through a story than when you're just talking at them in a lesson. It's probably why when you think back to your time at school or university or last time you had to sit in class, if somebody told you a story, you probably remembered it. But when you're learning about quadratic equations or T accounting in the accounting world, it can be pretty dull at best. Take a moment to think about those teachers and those individuals who helped you learn the most, and I'm sure that at some point it was enveloped in a story. There are other ways of saying tell and rebel. If you tell somebody something, they're more likely to rebel against it. But talking to people and enveloping your point in a story is so compelling. If you create that environment, you start setting the scene, especially if it's one that means a lot to you and you can bring in your enthusiasm and your passion in the story. You can easily articulate your point. As Simon Sinek would say in Start With why do people buy into brands? Well, more often than not, it's because people buy into why you do something, not what you do. Why is such a powerful tool. It's specific to all of us. My why will be very different to your why. Now, if I were to tell you a story around why I did my Ironman, it's not just a personal journey to see, can I run a marathon at the end of a swim and a bike? I'd flirted with the idea for many years, but it all came to fruition when my middle brother was diagnosed with bowel cancer. All of a sudden, my why became bigger than me. It wasn't just, can I put myself through it and come out of it at the end of the day? It was, can I do it for my brother? Now, if we had long enough, and I would take you through the story around how it came about. Thinking, am I going to have to provide for his family if he's no longer around? Terrible thoughts. But all of a sudden, it becomes a far more compelling and passionate why for me. If I were to tell you all about it, I'd build the main point into a story and I would tell you the story in a speech. Number 3, paint pictures on the canvases of your audience's mind. Use those words that promote powerful images. Go back to the last time you read a story when the words that you read just painted this really powerful picture in your mind. One of the best examples I can think of is J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter. Having spoken to a number of people that have read the books pretty much end to end continuously in one go, and watching the movies, the people that have read the books say that the context and the power and the imagery that it portrays after reading it is so intense. The wonderful thing is it means so many things to so many people. The way that I would envisage the story is very different to how somebody else would envisage the story. I used to love the Jack Higgins books when I was younger, and all of a sudden Sean Dillon means so much more to me than it might to somebody else. Or you might be watching the Philip Pullman trilogy on BBC One and thinking, wow, how has Lyra managed to do this and meet talking bears and interact with the witches? Being colourful and engaging and using the appropriate language to build that suspense, to build that engagement, to really get people to buy into what you're doing makes giving a speech far more flavour and far more context. It can take time. In much the same way that writing can evolve and finding your own voice in the written context can take time, so can giving a speech. Some of us find it easier than others. Some of us will have to work at it more. But the point is, if you want to give a superstar speech, you need to paint a picture on the canvases of your audience's minds. Let every single person take away what it is you want them to in their own way. It's so good when it works, and it just paints that powerful picture. I can't do it for you, but if you want somebody to give you goosebumps because what you're hearing resonates with them, use the language that would work for you. Something to think about. Number 4, get personal. Tell the audience something they didn't know. Tell them something about you. Get them to buy into why you're saying this. Obama talks about it in his acceptance speech, saying he's going to bring his 2 daughters and his puppy into the White House. People didn't know that at the time. Obviously, they knew he had children, but the puppy was a new addition. If you're standing up there and you're giving a speech, tell people something they didn't know. It helps them understand where you're coming from. It helps them relate to you. We're all in this together. We're trying to do this. We're trying to understand what's happening. We all fail. This is how I failed by doing this. This is when it went wrong. This is when I lost my job. This is when I had to knuckle down and do something else. Tell them something that is personal to you and that they didn't know. Number 5, wait for weight. It's easy to speed talk when you have to give a speech. You get nervous. You stand up there, especially if you've got to walk to the front, your heart's beating, all of a sudden you get your notes out, you start reading it, you're a bit anxious, you go through the speech as quickly as you can, you go thanks very much and you sit down. Just missed one of the most powerful tools that you can employ. The element of silence. Don't be in a hurry. Wait for the audience to process the point that you've made and then to react. This is something that Obama uses in such a great way. He says, in actual fact, listening to his book at the moment, he says it didn't always come naturally to him. He's had to work on it. There is a tendency to follow up another point with something that's gone well immediately afterwards, and then you lose the emphasis and you lose the weight of the point that's just made. Giving your audience a chance to understand and take in and use silence is hard, my word, but it is so powerful. If you give out a point and then just let it be, I promise you, you will find it uncomfortable. Your heart will be beating. You'll be desperate to say something, but don't. Just let it sink in. Give it a moment. And then carry on the point you're trying to make. Another tip to employ here is when you start public speaking, you want to speak slower than you think you need to. Don't rush it. If you speak at the natural speed at which you do normally, your chances are you're going to actually be speaking quicker, so you want to slow it down. It might sound strange to your ear and what you hear, but it will help you deliver a really powerful speech. So just remember to employ silence, hesitate, use the gaps, employ them so that they give weight to your speech. And number 6, light and shade. Not technically light and shade because that's a bit ridiculous, but more around the colour and the emphasis and the tone and the language that you use in your speech. Please don't be Mr. Monotone. I did this and then I did that and we went here and we did that and thanks very much. I'm going to sit down now. Any questions? No, thanks very much. Super boring. Nobody really cares. Let's be quite honest. Now, if that's your natural delivery, I think you might need to work on it. But why not interject it with a bit of joy, humour? Bring in the serious element. You might want to go a bit intimate or a bit determined. You want to mix it up and keep people engaged. All of a sudden, we started doing this and it went really well, but we hit some real snags. That's when the shit hit the fan and all of a sudden we were staring down the barrel and it was going to be really serious. How do you go overcome that? What did we do next? We didn't think we were going to make it, but funnily enough, Joe brought some tin beans and all of a sudden we were fine. Yeah, I'm not really sure that analogy works, but you see where I'm coming from. You want to mix it up and make it more engaging for your audience. So that's really it. The context of the speech is entirely personal to you, but how you deliver it can be worked on. And having listened to Barack Obama's book, which is read by him, and I would highly recommend you listen to it or read it. It is a brilliant listen and read by the man himself. It just goes to show that you can learn how to give a superstar speech just like Barack Obama. Now, I'm trying to work on this every time, and hopefully the videos that you watch are getting better each time, but I really enjoy public speaking. It's something that I've had to work at, but also I feel quite comfortable doing. Yes, the heart goes like the clappers and the legs go a bit wobbly, but being able to engage with your audience and tell a story, man, I love it. There are so many things we can do, whether it be in the data world or the endurance world or the sporting context or fitness or home or life or whatever it is. Being able to articulate it so that others and people like yourselves can benefit from it, it's got to be a good way to go. So that's it. My name is Brendan. As always, please make sure that you do push the like button, and hopefully by now you've clicked the subscribe, including the little bell, because that means that you get all of the content the moment it is released. But with that, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you all very soon.